He's a higher family. He's the Most High, holy and eternal, King of all kings, the only true wise and living God, the Almighty. I'm coming on just now with a prophetic word. And, Yahweh is not best pleased with many of the things that some are choosing to get into at this time. We are seeing people attempt to perform destiny swap rituals and just the escalation in just spell work and I'm going to call it witchcraft. It's what it actually is. It's really cause for concern and quite alarming. I mean, destiny swap. Really? Now, this really is a very dangerous course of action, particularly at this particular time. As I've said previously, we have moved into a phase of judgment upon the heathen and upon those who do such things, who've very much been trying to frustrate God's people. In Hosea 4, chapter 4, verse 2 particularly puts it quite well. I'm reading from verse 1 to 5. It says, "Hear the word of the Lord. For the Lord hath a controversy with the inhabitants of the land, because there is no truth, nor mercy, nor knowledge of God in the land. By swearing and lying, and killing and stealing, and committing adultery, they break out, and blood toucheth blood. Therefore shall the land mourn, and every one that dwelleth therein shall languish, with the beasts of the field, and with the fowls of heaven. Yea, the fishes of the sea also shall be taken away. Yet let no man strive, nor reprove another. For these people are they that strive with the priest. Therefore shalt thou fall in the day, and the prophet also shall fall with thee in the night, and I will destroy thy mother." This very much does summarize many things that are going on. The rituals, the sacrifices, all of which Yahuwah sees, the gang stalking, the monitoring surveillance. And those doing these things are seen to be unaware that they themselves are under surveillance. There's nothing hidden that Yahuwah doesn't see or that won't be revealed. And so a time of exposure really is coming of many of these things. Because Yahuwah is bringing an end to what they've been doing. In afflicting his people. And then raising great slanders of just complete and total lies against his people. To try to conceal their thefts. All to conceal the fact that they are trying to plunder the blessings, resources of his people, is why all the lies and the slander are being promoted. To also make the particular person they're targeting a focus for attack, as part of their way of speaking in code, and also to have a dehumanizing effect as well, so they can justify their actions and their abusing and their abuse and their affliction of his people in trying to siphon and to plunder these individuals spiritually. All of these things Yahuwah sees. And he's already pronounced a judgment upon it, which is part of the reason why he is, or has been a little silent. You know, it's a very, very dangerous thing when you are silent about a matter. And it looks like a person's left. They would think they got away with it or is left unpunished. But that's not at all the case. What it really means is that your goose is cooked, essentially. It means Yahuwah has literally numbered your kingdom and finished it. And has just totally removed it, is normally what that means. He's saying here, yet let no man strive nor reprove another. For these people are like they that strive with the priest. Well, very much they have striven with the priest and everyone who would seek to bring them correction, until there's no longer anyone or any church that do make a positive stand to speak out against many of the things that are being done in society. This is the reason that when judgment falls on a people, on a nation, it ends up touching everyone. As in the first Egypt, even those who were quite far away from the palaces of the king were equally affected by the judgments and by the plagues. And this, unfortunately, is where we've come to again, because of all of the things that have been going on in the background. Who has given sufficient time to repent, but rather than repenting, they've chosen to reinforce and renew their agreements with darkness. And Yahuwah is not going to impose himself on anyone. He's not going to tell anybody what to do. After all, as a God, he gave us free choice, gave everyone the ability to think and to act for themselves and to make their own decisions. Saying, therefore shalt thou fall in the day, and the prophet also shall fall with thee in the night, and I will destroy thy mother. So when it's referring to mother here, it's not referring to the capital city of the nation. If you recall, the scriptures say that of Israel, that Jerusalem is the mother of us all. That's what that's usually alluding to. So where is Jerusalem to this day? I mean, the original Jerusalem that was being spoken of here. Well, there is your answer. Which is fairly self-explanatory. So these things really happened to Israel initially, in the first instance. And you had the prophet write them and record them as a salutary lesson, not only to Israel, to recall what had happened in the past, so she could avoid making similar mistakes in the future, but also even as a lesson and a reproof to other peoples and nations as well, so they could see what Israel had done, that had incurred the judgment of God, and could avoid going that way. And this nation, despite having that evidence, having seen what happened to Israel, having more than ample opportunity to take another direction, make another choice, has instead chosen to go into darkness. And has now just been turned over completely to a reprobate mind, to do the things that, because they're not convenient, to do the things that they want to do. So if one wants to do righteously, they'll be helped. If one wants to do wickedly, a way will also be open for them to do that also. Yahuwah's not going to stand in anyone's way. But the magic, the spells, the incantations, the sorcery, all the things that Yahuwah has instructed man not to do. In fact, so much is he aggrieved by these practices. It's actually proclaimed a sentence of death to those who indulge in these practices, saying, I suffer not a witch to live. He said repeatedly, in so many ways. Leviticus 19 verse 31, regard not them that have familiar spirits, and that seek after wizards, to be defiled by them. I am the Lord your God. Exodus 22:18, thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. Deuteronomy 18, 9 to 12, when thou art come into the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, thou shalt not learn to do after the abominations of those nations. There shall not be found among you anyone that maketh his son or his daughter to pass through the fire, or that useth divination, or an observer of times, or an enchanter, or a witch, or a charmer, or a consulter with familiar spirits, or a wizard, or a necromancer. All that do these things are an abomination unto the Lord. And because of these abominations, the Lord thy God does drive them out from before thee. Well, that possibly covers the whole nation, because we're aware of we live in a tabernacle system. We're aware of that. And that's why Yahuwah, as I say, is silent. Seemingly. But that's not to be conflated with Yahuwah giving the nation and the people a pass to do these things. And they might have had a little longer grace had they not turned these things specifically onto his anointed, who he was told, who he is instructed on many occasions. He's repeated the instruction not to touch, saying, touch not my anointed, and do my prophets no harm. But they refused to heed. Again, Leviticus 20 verse 6, and the soul that turneth after such as have familiar spirits, and after wizards, to go a-whoring after them, I will even set my face against that soul, and will cut him off from among his people. So there are people visiting various altars, even liquidating assets to find money to pay witches, to do all kinds of spells. All these things Yahuwah has seen. The identity theft, the slander, all the lies, the removal of opportunities, the removal of viable possessions are actually legitimate property of his people, that the wicked think they're stealing and taking away and keeping for themselves. All these things Yahuwah has seen. The recruitment drives to recruit people to gang up, to go against and to sabotage his people. As I say, God has numbered this kingdom and finished it. Tekel, was previously proclaimed to these systems of darkness back in the early 2000s. So this is Perez, the final decree. It was weighed in the balances and found wanting. And these systems have already spiritually will surely be removed, together with those responsible. You has a judgment for these things, as he has stated in Isaiah 47, verse 14. And it's unquenchable fire. And that's all I will say. So, to be aware that for the unfolding of what will come next is a consequence of what you have sown. To God be the glory. This is the Repairers of the Breach, Isaiah 58:12. # we will restore his paths.